Niklsun here, and welcome to Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. I'm your host, and on this show, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we'll be going over all of the day's movie news, as well as going over what it means for the production in general, such as casting decisions, trailer announcements, director announcements, things like that. So, without any further ado, let's get started with today's Hot Topics. We have our first trailer at Guillermo del Toro's upcoming directorial effort called Crimson Peak. Now, this movie's kind of unique because not only is it a gothic horror film, but it's also got a romantic story tied into that. He's always wanted to do, Guillermo del Toro has always wanted to do this tragic love story set within the confines of a gothic horror story. And so this is something unique that we're going to get. It's getting Guillermo del Toro back to his Devil's Backbone section. It's getting him back to his Pan's Labyrinth time frame. I mean, getting him back to the point where he almost has a playground just to have fun in. And this is where he really shines. This is where we really get to see him at his best, is when he's doing movies like this. I am through the moon for this trailer, and there's a couple of reasons why. One, it's not a conventional trailer. To me, I was not expecting, although I kind of had a hint of it based on the length of time this movie was in post-production, the amount of CGI work involving the ghosts and the different kind of versions of ghosts, Guillermo del Toro's versions of ghosts, things that I've at least never seen or never experienced before. Like, you see the ghost pulling itself through the floor, and, you know, it's not just hovering there. It's actually a tangible, tangible layer or three-dimensional space or surface that they can interact with, yet they can choose to pass through it. Like, there's a lot of really cool concepts, I think, that are at play. Whether or not they're played up in the film is still another story, but just from my experience watching the trailer, I was actually really surprised by it. One thing, I gotta let you know, okay, so the main cast of the movie is Mia Wasikowska, you have Tom Hiddleston, you have Jessica Chastain, and then you have Charlie Hunnam, who everybody should remember as Jax Teller from Sons of Anarchy. He was also the lead character in Pacific Rim. Is going to be returning for Pacific Rim 2. So, one of the curious things about this, now, I started to pick up things in the trailer. Now, I could be completely off base, but this is my theory of it. I believe that both Jessica Chastain's character and Tom Hiddleston's character are both ghosts. You know, they need something from Mia Wasikowska's character, and Charlie Hunnam is somebody who is suspicious, or has been suspicious, of both Hiddleston and Chastain for a while now. Because there's the line in the trailer where she says, you know, we've never been allowed in this house, we've only been allowed in the cellar and in the attic. But more importantly, the one shot that got me was the two shots of the ghost that you could see. The dress that she was wearing, or the clothing that she was wearing, was very similar to what Jessica Chastain's character was wearing. More importantly than that, you can see that there's something between Tom Hiddleston and Jessica Chastain's character, because they're, as far as I'm aware, I could be reading this wrong from the trailer, but I believe they are brother and sister, and I could be completely incorrect on that. Let me know in the comment section if I'm right or wrong about that part. But I have a feeling that Charlie Hunnam is going to be somebody who comes in who knows a little bit more about the situation than Mia Wasikowska does, and is there to try to help her along her journey, try to get her through this, and ultimately till the end of the film. Now, with knowing it being a Guillermo del Toro movie, he's going to subvert our expectations. He is going to bring out new versions of this. He's going to bring out new things that we haven't seen before, and new kind of tropes for a horror film. I'm really excited about this. You know, I mean, they actually filmed part of this movie in my hometown of Kingston, Ontario. I actually got to go down to the set and see just the entire set design, what they had done. They turned all of Market Square, which is a big section of downtown Kingston. Kingston is, for those of you who don't know, it's the first capital of Canada. Now, it's no longer the capital of Canada. Ottawa is the capital of Canada. But it was the birthplace of our first prime minister and all this. So it has a lot of historical relevance. It still has a lot of very old historical buildings. So they were able to take the look of that, and then they made it look like turn of the century London. So it was really cool to be able to go down there and see all that. But it just surprised me that they were filming that. They were almost, I think they were 3/4 of the way through the filming when they went and shot there back in April of last year. And the movie's not coming out until October. So I'm definitely on board with this. I know this trailer has been kind of, not a lot of people have been liking it. And I can definitely understand why. A lot of people were expecting more from this trailer, but to me, it was, we're getting a taste of Guillermo del Toro's version of a haunted house story told with a love story and it being a gothic story. So we're getting something that's a little bit in the past. It has all the elements of something that's going to be really cool and unique. And this has been a passion project of his for a while. So having a passion project come from somebody like Guillermo del Toro, I think is going to be something that's going to be really cool. Pacific Rim was not necessarily a passion project. It was just something that he had been wanting to do for a while. But this is something that he's been dying to work on. So I am really excited about this. The cast looks incredible. Fun fact, though, actually, Tom Hiddleston's character originally was going to be played by Benedict Cumberbatch. And Benedict Cumberbatch had to drop out because of, I believe it was scheduling conflicts. And then Tom Hiddleston took his place. So that would have been really cool to see Benedict Cumberbatch in that role. I think that could have been pretty unique. But as it stands right now, the movie's going to be opening up on October 16th of this year. If you guys haven't checked out the trailer, go down in the description of this video below and click the link so you can watch it yourself. And if we do get more information about this topic, I will definitely update you guys on here. Ever since Tom Hardy dropped out of Suicide Squad, the upcoming DC adaptation of the basically the band of villains coming together, it's going to be the first film to follow Batman v Superman. When he decided to drop out of that film, the search has been on to find his replacement. And they've gone through such, options as, or at least rumored to be connected to it as, Carl Urban. They've had Jake Gyllenhaal connected to it. John Berthnall has been connected to it. Joel Edgerton has been connected to it. Well, now both Latino Review and The Wrap, or Jeff Snyder from The Wrap, are both reporting that it looks like we have found our guy. It looks like it's actually going to be RoboCop star Joel Kinnaman. Now, there was a report that came out a few days ago. I think it was on either Thursday or Friday, Wednesday or Thursday that it came out, that stated that within a week we would be receiving our Rick Flag casting. Like the official, not just a rumor, not just who's going to be in line, but who is actually going to play the role. And Jeff Snyder actually followed that report up with saying, we've updated our story. While it's not official from DC, we have our Rick Flag. So it looks as though Joel Kinnaman is actually going to be the one who's going to be portraying the character of Rick Flag in the movie come August of next year. Now, I'm one of the people who I say, awesome. I thought that he was very, very good in the role of RoboCop, in the role of Alex Murphy that he had in the RoboCop remake. Now, say what you will about the RoboCop remake, I think the vast majority of people out there found that the movie was a hell of a lot better than they thought it was going to be. Now, coming out saying that, it doesn't sound like the ringing endorsement the studio was hoping for. But looking at what the character of RoboCop was, what the original movie was, it was definitely a product of its time. So they needed to update them. Well, not necessarily needed to. If they were doing a new version of the movie, they need to update it. They need to put it into today's time frame. So Alex Murphy then would change as a type of person because the way that people acted back in the 80s is not the same way that they act nowadays. So, I mean, that naturally just had to change. The thing that I really liked about the movie was realistically showcasing how over the course of them bringing him and bridging the gap between man and machine, that he lost his humanity. But humanity is something that will overcome everything. That essentially was the message of RoboCop. And so seeing him come on board this, I think that he could actually give it a shot. Now, the character of Rick Flag, from what we know, was originally going to be the leader of the crew, or the de facto leader, I should say. But subsequent rewrites have come out and have reduced the length or the size of the role, I should say, in the movie. So Rick Flag is no longer going to be portrayed as the leader of the group. He may even still have that title, if you will, but he's not going to be featured in the movie as much. Early reports suggest that he may not even come in until a third to half the way through the film. So, I mean, the size of the role has been reduced, which means that they're not going to be able to get the A-lister that they wanted to on the film. They're going to need to go for somebody else. Now, if they're looking at somebody like Joel Kinnaman, I think that that's an inspired choice. He's somebody who's not on everybody's radar, but he's a very good character actor, especially if you watch a show like The Killing. He was really good on The Killing. And it was not, I believe it was a show that wasn't given its fair due. It was just caught up in a lot of other shows being a little bit better than it, not to take away its quality. It's almost like how, they say about the Academy Awards, about how, yeah, you could have had the best role of your career, but there were 5 other people that year who were better. And that's just the nature of the beast. That's just the way that it works. And so I do think that Joel Kinnaman will do a great job. He is kind of in the same you know, frame as I was thinking of what Tom Hardy would look like in the role, as what, you know, Joel Edgerton would look like in the role. John Bernthal would be a little bit bigger. Let's face it, Tom Hardy would be a little bit bigger as well, but not that much. But, you know, I felt that he was really good in RoboCop. I felt that he is a good choice. Now, funny, I was having a conversation with somebody on Twitter earlier, and they said, if you're going to get RoboCop for Rick Flag, get Peter Weller. And I responded back with Rick Flag Sr., because there are reports suggesting that Rick Flag Sr. will be in the movie as well. Now, wouldn't that be cool if we had Peter Weller playing Rick Flag Sr. and Joel Kinnaman playing Rick Flag, the one that we know, and they're father and son, but they're both RoboCop. I mean, they obviously have no real, you know, on-the-nose comment or anything of that sort. Just, to me, it would be just a very subtle thing. I think it would be really interesting, really neat to see that, and especially when you get the one picture of them both standing next to one another. They're both playing different versions of this character. They're playing different versions of RoboCop, so I thought it would have been a nice little harmony. But whether or not that actually ends up happening is still a ways away. It actually looks as though Ed Harris may end up playing Rick Flag Sr., so that could be kind of cool as well. It all depends. The movie's still a couple of weeks away from shooting. They're not going to be shooting until the end of March, beginning of April. So we still got some time for all this information to come out. And who knows? They may already have the people cast. And it's just now trickling out to the news outlets. We still don't know. We're on the outside of it. There's a big wall. We're on the other side of the wall. So that's just the way that works. But yeah, I'm down for Joel Kinnaman. What do you guys think? Do you think that he's more of a Jai Courtney type actor, or do you think he's actually really somebody who could bring his game to this movie? I think that he's somebody where not only is he not recognizable enough that you would see him instead of the character, I think that this could be one of those times where it could really fuse the character together. Depending on how long we actually see this character in the universe is up. I mean, it's called the Suicide Squad. Some of these people are bound to not make it out. Now, with that, I can almost guarantee you that Will Smith will still be there. I can guarantee you that the Joker and Harley Quinn will still be there. So that leaves Captain Boomerang, likely option. That leaves Enchantress, likely option. And that leaves Rick Flag, likely option. So those are the three that are most likely going to end up dying in Suicide Squad. But we're not going to know until August of next year. So put a comment in the comment section if you think that you like Joel Kinnaman, or if not, let me know in the comment section. And if we do get more information about this topic, I will definitely update you guys on here. We have a few updates about the upcoming Assassin's Creed adaptation. Now, up until this point, we had all been under the assumption that this movie had been officially greenlit. Well, apparently it hasn't. As it turns out, I believe it was either late yesterday or early today, they actually got the official green light, and now that they are deep in pre-production of the film. That, to me, is really surprising. I had been under the assumption up until this point that the movie was in pre-production. Because pre-production essentially encompasses everything from once you attain the rights to right before you start rolling cameras. Now, there's obviously a part where pre-production could be happening before a studio officially greenlights a movie. That could happen. You know, maybe they had hired a lot of people on. They had gotten a lot of storyboards done. They've kind of worked out a lot of their problems and a lot of the ideas within the film, the structure of the story, everything of that part. And then once it actually comes to throwing real money into it, so starting to build sets, starting to do location scouts and all this kind of stuff, at that point, I think that's when the studio really needs to come in and say, okay, you're backed. Here you go. You got investors. You've got your budget. Go ahead, start pre-production. So it's really exciting that this is actually now happening. I mean, it's been a little bit of a rocky road for Assassin's Creed, only because, you know, we'd been hearing that, oh, well, it looks like Michael Fassbender's not happy with the movie, and he, you know, because it's not adhering to the quality of the game. And when I had read that report, I started laughing my ass off, because when he was first attached to the project, he had officially come out and said, I've never played the game. He doesn't play games. I think he even said, oh no, that was Jesse Eisenberg who said he doesn't even own a TV. Although Michael Fassbender could have also said that, but he said he doesn't play video games. He doesn't really know the history of the game. He just really liked the story and liked the ideas of where this movie not only is, but where it could go, especially in future installments. So when all those reports were coming out about there's trouble on the set of, or, you know, involving the production of Assassin's Creed, I just kind of giggled, because I'm like, that is a complete fabricated lie. I just thought it was really funny. Sometimes I notice them. Like, there's another report. I don't mean to throw this website under the bus because I absolutely love this website. They're one of the most reliable ones out there. But JoeBlow.com recently ran a story, and I went into the comment section and I gave a little blurb as to why I think that was the most ridiculous comment I've ever heard. But they said, could J.J. Abrams be looking at bumping the Star Wars Episode 7 release up to summer 2015? You know, and blowing everybody's expectations. And in their report, they said, well, the reason could be is that he wants to avoid as many spoilers as he can, so he wants to release it early. And nowhere in the article did they mention the fact that special effects would need to be done by then. You know, they said they've already got the movie shot. They could release it early in this, and I thought it was one of the most inept form of writing for a film website. Because, again, looking at something like this, you're a film site talking about Star Wars. Looking at J.J. Abrams' previous movies, do you think that they could really release these movies early? He has already tried to get the movie bumped past December 2015. He tried to get it bumped to summer 2016, and they said no. They originally told their shareholders the new movie would be launched in 2015 to start their new franchise. They had to go as far back into 2015 as they can, but they were not giving up 2015. The fact that somebody is now saying, oh no, JJ's going to move it up 6 months. He's fine with it. Are you serious? Are you, like, really? It made me furious. Because it's just, like, I go to you guys for reliable, dependable news. And I read a report like this. Now, granted, it was labeled rumor. But the way it was written, it was like the person actually believed this could be real. And it's, are you an idiot? I'm sorry, but are you dumb? You know that a movie of that size and scale would not have anything finished by that time. You know they would. They just finished filming in December. They do. Oh, I'm done with that talk. I'm done with that one because I'm starting to get a little mad again. But getting back to Assassin's Creed, it was just funny to see some of these stories coming out that were just completely false. And it does get me a little bit upset when I see that not only is it's a rumor, but they're going along as though they're saying, and it's not like, let's for a minute talk about whether or not this could be the case. It was just going on and pointing out the facts. Like, hey, listen, they finished filming a while ago. It makes sense to try to avoid spoilers. And it was like, what? Like, I'm stopping talking about it. So the thing about Assassin's Creed as well is that now that it's on track and it's on board, they do have their penciled in, and I say penciled, and I'll get to that in a second, release date of December 21st, 2016. She's not only they've added on Marion Cotillard. So for those of you who don't recognize the name or don't know who she is, she played Leonardo DiCaprio's wife in Inception. She's also up for an Academy Award for her role in 2 Days, One Night. That, to me, is one of the most out of left field nominations I've ever heard of. But still, I mean, I still haven't seen the film, so I can't really comment on it. But just everything that I've heard from respectable people who have seen the movie, it's like, really? Her over Jennifer Aniston as one example, and there were a couple of other examples as well, but I just thought it was a little odd. But her role in the movie is being kept under wraps. Now, funny enough, this is actually going to be a full Macbeth reunion because there's a new version of the Shakespeare play Macbeth coming out to theaters. I believe it's going to be theaters, either video on demand or theaters, later on this year, starring Michael Fassbender as Macbeth, starring Marion Cotillard as Lady Macbeth, and directed by Justin Kurzel. Justin Kurzel just happens to be the director of the upcoming Assassin's Creed adaptation. So they have the lead actor, lead actress, and director all reuniting for the same project. That's going to add a lot of continuity because they're going to be able to speak a little bit easier to one another. They're going to be able to say something and really know what that person means. Not to say that directors don't have that capability, but they're going to be able to get their point across a little bit easier. They're almost going to be able to say, you know, and they'll be able to almost speak in subtext. Because they'll have worked together before so recently as well. Now, her role is being kept under wraps. But I would love it if she was some sort of assassin. Not just the relegated female love interest or anything of that sort. I would love it if she was Maria Thorpe. Now, for those of you, this is going into deep Assassin's Creed nerd territory here. Maria Thorpe was a character who was linked to Iltar. I believe his name is Iltar. I can't exactly remember the character that you played in the first Assassin's Creed game. Altar, I think it was Altar. And so she has ties to both that character and to Desmond Miles. And Desmond Miles is the main character who you play, who goes into the Animus, who gets he has the genetic memories of the Knights Templars and all those other characters, and so they're able to go into the Animus and get back his memory. So like this has a lot of really cool potential. But if they make her that character, that means that they are striving for something a little bit different than what we've seen before. And I'm really excited about that. Now, getting back to when I said about penciled in, I really do not believe for 1 second that they are going to release this movie, Assassin's Creed, on December 21st, 2016. And the reason why I don't is because a week prior to that is going to be Star Wars episode or Star Wars spin-off #1, directed by Gareth Evans. It's going to have the name Star Wars on it. I'm sorry, but this is going after a very similar type of audience. And I don't believe that that is going to work in their favor. Why they moved it to there very recently, I might add. It was only a few months ago that they moved it to that release date, which was over a year, or at least 8 months, that Lucasfilm and Disney had that release date penciled in for the Star Wars spin-off film. And there are no signs of them delaying that at all. So I just find it weird that they are releasing it then. I would like to see them release it maybe a month and a half before then. You could release it at the beginning of November, give it a couple of weeks, and then you'll have, I believe, the first installment of Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them will be coming out at the end of November. So you could give it several weeks, end of October, beginning of November, give it several weeks with really no competition in the same type of genre, and then you'll be able to do it. That's what I think they should do. But again, that's just my personal opinion. I don't think that it's a very smart decision for them to move it in such close proximity. Now, I also did say that they'd be going up against the Avatar sequels, but now we know that the Avatar sequels have been bumped back a year, so that's not going to be really an issue. So it all just stands to be questioned whether or not this is actually going to happen on this date, or if it's still going to be pushed back. I would personally like to see it bumped up a little bit, but it's all going to determine how much time Justin Kurzel feels that he's going to need with the film. It looks like it's going to start filming in October of this year, so when we do get more information about Assassin's Creed, I will definitely update you guys on here. Now we move on to our user comment section. Now, every Friday episode, as long as we have time to be able to do them, I do a section where I do comments and questions, topics, everything like that. So if you guys ever have a topic, question, comment, anything of that sort that you would like to have addressed on the show, or that you just want a little bit of an update on, go ahead and put a comment in the comment section of whichever video it is that you're watching. Or you can email a question into Movie News with Niklsun, Niklsun, @gmail.com, and we'll try to get to as many as we can on every Friday episode. So the first one today comes from Davin Orvin, and these are both just comments, these aren't questions. So he goes, glad you posted on the Jolie rumor. Gotta say that Marvel and Disney is a machine. They even have a production house for writers and directors, so you can expect them to guide her in the general direction. Also, if this is true, Jolie will direct a few other movies to get her up to speed before she takes on the big dance. Let's also not forget that Jolie played a powerful hero in Lara Croft a few times, Mrs. Smith, and she even played a super secret spy, although I can't remember the name of it. The movie you're referring to is Salt. But she has an on-screen experience. She'll be ready for a Marvel directorial debut in time. Now, Davin, I hope you're right. You know, I mean, this seriously is just a rumor right now, so we have no concrete evidence as to whether or not this is actually happening. It's just more and more reports are starting to come out about it. Now, not really with any new information, just kind of reiterating what we've already heard. I don't really have a problem with her being Captain Marvel. I do not have an issue with her at all. The only issue I have is that she might be just a little bit too old for the character, because this is not going to be a one and done. They're not going to do just this movie and her and maybe an Avengers Infinity War, and then that's going to be it. This is going to be a multi-film franchise that's probably going to span at least 5 to 6 years minimum, unless they decide to continue her on past that. Now, the amount of characters that they're introducing, if they are going to sign somebody on for a 5 or 6 picture deal, then they're probably going to have to be on for even longer, let's just say 8 years. So, I mean, Angelina Jolie is now in her 40s. So, I actually believe she just turned 40. I'd have to look that up. But Captain Marvel is now not expected to debut in theaters until November of 2018. So that is now almost 4 years away, when the first movie is going to be coming out. And if they're going to do, let's just say they do 6. They do 6 movies what they sign her on for. So we're most likely going to be introduced to her in Captain Marvel, in Captain Marvel, because Captain Marvel was already scheduled to come out after the first part of Infinity War. I do believe that she'll be introduced in that. So there's one. She'll also be in Infinity War Part 2, most likely. So there's two. Then you have Captain Marvel 2 and Captain Marvel 3. And then Captain Marvel 2 and Captain Marvel 3. So then that leaves two more allowances for her to stay in there if she signs a 6-picture deal. So then that means it's probably going to be another Avengers film if they do another one down the line, which I think is a far gone conclusion at this point. And then maybe even possibly a Guardians spin-off or a Guardians crossover. You know, they could do something like that. But if they're planning on doing something like that, they're going to be spreading those movies out so far because they're also going to have a Doctor Strange sequel. They're going to have a Black Panther sequel. They're going to have an Inhuman sequel. You know, they're going to have to do a new iteration of, maybe even they'll give a Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch their own movie. You know, I mean, we still don't know what the landscape of that is going to be. So getting somebody like Angelina Jolie on board to play, you know, an intergalactic character like Captain Marvel, I personally think that she's just a little bit too old. I think they're going to try to go for somebody who's in their, you know, late 20s, maybe early 30s, so that they have that a little bit of, I don't want to say a weathered look, but they have an experienced look. They have the look of somebody who you believe has been this character for a bit now, because Kevin Feige has gone out and said, we're not doing origin stories anymore. So this is going to be somebody who's been Captain Marvel foreseeably for a while. So it all depends on kind of where they're going, but I completely agree with the Lara Croft thing, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, Salt. I do think that she still has it. My main contention is with her directing. And while I do believe that she has the ability to get better, I don't think that Marvel is going to risk the fact that before we give her this movie, she has to improve, because this movie is approaching so near. I mean, like I said, we got 3.5 years until this movie comes out, just a little bit over 3.5 years. So they're going to need to get a director on board that film within 6 months, 6 to 8 months. They're going to need to have a director on board. Whether or not they announce it is another story. But so that they can start planning the movie, any adjustments that they have, they could be fed back to Marvel. Marvel can go back and say either yes or no, or that conflicts with our overall plan, whatever the case may be. Gives them enough time to generate the story, to create that, get it on board, find the right person, get them trained up, get the script up to shape, get everything working, and then start filming it. So while I don't think that she is a good choice to direct, I think that she would be a good choice to act in it. Again, my problem is I think she's just a little bit too old for the character. But I really do agree, Davin, with your comment. I think that you hit it nail on the head right there. Hopefully she could be ready for a Marvel directorial debut in time. I do think that she has the talent somewhere down the line. It's just right now, no. She's way too early in her career. She needs to develop that a lot more. And again, with let's just even say they push it a little bit and get somebody involved a year from now. Well, she's currently directing another film. I think it was called In the Sea or something along those lines. And then she's got another movie lined up after that. Now, if those movies come out and they're a little bit better, it shows that she's actually taken, taken some, not necessarily some of the comments, because some of the comments you can't really learn anything from those, but actually has gotten a little bit of help with learning subtleties and, certain things like that, because the direction to me is one of the things that's lacking from her film so far. Like In the Land of Blood and Honey, I thought it was a great story. I thought it was actually, it was about on par with Unbroken. I just thought Unbroken was it was a much bigger production. But to me, it was just, again, it was the directing that was lacking in both of them. So I think that she needs to spend a little bit more time and get those skills updated and just get them to work a little bit better in her favor. And then I'd be more open to her directing the movie. But for casting, I think that she would be a good choice. Just a little too old for my liking. But Davin, again, thank you for the comment. And if we do get more information about Captain Marvel, I will definitely update you guys on here. And our last user comment today comes to us from Ben Jen. And this is in reference to Spider-Man joining the MCU. He goes, while I'm just as excited as the next fanboy for this movie, my only real complaint about this announcement is that it kind of makes Black Panther seem redundant. At the Phase 3 event, you could clearly see that Civil War was positioning him in the Spider-Man role. But now that you actually have Spider-Man, what now? Obviously, he'll still have a big role given the hype that needs to build up his own standalone film, but you have to wonder just how much bigger his role would have been had Sony never agreed to this compromise. Not to end on a downer, as I am still excited, but I trust Marvel to work a way around this so both Panther and Spidey get roles that can appease the fandom. Excelsior. Ben Jen, absolutely. That's been my biggest worry, and I talked about that on the other day's episode about what does this mean for Black Panther? What could they do with it? Are they going... Now, from my understanding, Marvel has a script for Civil War that also includes Spider-Man. Whether or not it's Spider-Man actually in the Black Panther role is still up for debate. I still don't know that. My understanding is that Spider-Man will be introduced in the film. I do not believe that he will be a main character in the movie. A little bit more information has come out about it. As far as I'm aware, I do not believe that he will be a central figure in that film. I think they will use that movie to introduce him, absolutely. I do think that Black Panther is retaining his spot. I think that he will be the Spider-Man type character in the Civil War storyline. I don't think that they're altering that. I think that they are just going to fit the character of Spider-Man in that movie. And I do think that that is going to be the first time that we see him in the MCU. I did kind of guesstimate a little bit that he could be in an after credits scene of Avengers, but I think that, again, unless they stop showing, or if they don't show Peter Parker, or they don't show Spider-Man, what would happen if, let's say, you were showing Steve Rogers walking down the street at night, like it's an after credit scene. You see Steve Rogers walking down the street at night, and all of a sudden he kind of, he starts noticing there's people following him, or something along those lines. There's something bad is not right. There's something bad is afoot. And he kind of walks down an alleyway, and just as he's walking down an alleyway, you see the guy come around and then go, wah! And then he kind of turns around and wonders, what's going on with this? What is... what caused this? So he walks out to the alleyway, and you just see the guys hanging from a street light with a big giant spider web around him, and then just have like a little Spider-Man cue in the music, and boom, that's all you need. That to me would be a really cool after credit scene. That's a great way to introduce the character. You also, at that point, don't even need to have him cast. You don't need to have the costume. All you need is kind of an idea of what the webbing will look like. That's all you need for that. But it introduces Spider-Man in the MCU. It gets them knowing that, hey, listen, there's a new guy out there, somebody we haven't seen yet. He looks a little mischievous. He looks a little, immature. And that, to me, is everything that Spider-Man is. And I think that would be a great way to introduce him. I just hope that they don't ham-fist this in and actually remove a lot of what Black Panther was going to be in the script. Because I think Black Panther, they're setting up Doctor Strange and Black Panther to be the new Captain America, Iron Man. I think those two characters are going to be the ones to lead the Marvel Cinematic Universe into Phase 4. And so on and so forth. I think Spider-Man is going to help. I don't think that he's going to be as big of an enhancement to the MCU as a lot of people are building him up to. I'm still excited to see him. I'd love to see him swinging around with Iron Man or with, Thor or Captain America or anybody like that. I think it'd be really cool to see that. But I'm not getting my hopes up too high because Sony has let us down too many times in the past. Well, 2 out of 5. But still, it's just, I don't want to get my hopes up too much because I don't want him to be torn down. Spider-Man is one of my all-time favorite characters. And they have not, except Spider-Man 2, to me, is one of the all-time greatest superhero movies. Because not only did it treat the character right, although that freeze frame spot was a little odd. I remember when I first saw it in theaters and I laughed. Every time after that, I'm like, yeah, you could do away with that. You could stop that. But yeah, I really do hope that they don't limit Black Panther only because now they have Spider-Man. Because now our opinions would be completely different if they did not make this announcement. If they didn't come out and say that, oh, by the way, Black Panther will be in the movie. I think that, you know what? Actually, now this is just a quick spitball and then I'll be finished with the video. I think that was Marvel's way of telling Sony, listen, you guys just missed out. I think because we know that in October, right around the time this announcement came out, Sony and Marvel had been talking. They had been working on a deal, and the deal did not go through. So I think that once they said that, they're like, you know what, we got this in our back pocket. We're going to put Black Panther in the same role, and we're going to announce it publicly to everybody that, oh, by the way, Black Panther will be in this movie. Which side are you going to go on? You know, and I think that was then Sony going, oh, God, you know, we just lost out. Now they've come back to the drawing board and said, listen, we'll still include him in this movie, but he'll be featured more heavily in a future film, most likely Avengers Infinity War Part 1. But that's my speculation. I think that's what actually did happen. And it wouldn't surprise me if that was actually the case. But I do think that what they're going to do now is they're going to keep it the way that we have been assuming it's going to be, and then just have Spider-Man featured in another role. Or maybe it's going to be smaller. It doesn't need to be the main character, because they've already come out and said that we can't adapt that one because it doesn't make sense. We don't have, you know, like secret identity heroes in this universe, so that element doesn't really get brought into it. So there's a lot of ways they could play with it. I really do think that we're going to get our Black Panther the way that we've been told that we're going to get it. And then we're going to get Spider-Man in there in some fashion. I don't think we're going to lose out on seeing Black Panther. So, Ben, I hope that that actually answers your question. I hope that's the point you were trying to get across there. And Excelsior, absolutely. In the great words of Stan Lee, Excelsior. So, yeah, that is everything that we have about what Black Panther and Spider-Man's roles could potentially be in Civil War. If we do get more information about this, I will definitely update you guys on here. Well, that'll about do it for us here on Coming Soon Movie News with Niklsun. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have been a great audience. Go ahead and click that subscribe button there in the bottom corner. You can get updates whenever we post a new video. You can also find me on Twitter at Niklsun, Niklsun, for all of your movie updates. You can also give us a like on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Movie News with Niklsun. If you ever have a topic or a question you'd like to have talked about on this show, you can go ahead and put a comment in our comment section, or you can email us at movienewswithniklsun@gmail.com. On every Friday episode, we'll try to answer as many as we can. But until next time, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.